Well, there was an interesting incident at the Grand Hyatt Hotel yesterday afternoon. A group of ad hoc community activists, they call themselves. There was an event, and I'm not even straight on what went down, but Anna Humphreys is one of the activists who was down there, and she joins us here on the Dori Monson Show. Anna, I appreciate you coming on with me this afternoon.
Yeah, hey, Dori, thanks so much for your interest in this story. I think it's a really important one.
Okay, tell me what went down, because the way it was portrayed to me was that a rumor started spreading that the Grand Hyatt was going to provide rooms for homeless people. Is that the word that was spread yesterday?
Well, the word that was spread is that the Hyatt and city and King County councils were collaborating on a rollout pilot program to provide shelter for people experiencing homelessness during this dual crisis of smoke and a pandemic.
Right.
A press release was leaked to various different organizations throughout the city, and we started to release it on social media. We spread the word pretty widely, and then at 3 p.m., we arrived, and we are a group of houseless and unhoused activists. Every single person who was there yesterday was fully informed, fully consenting, and largely part of the organization, of the organizing itself.
The press release said what? Because as I understand it, it claimed that there were going to be rooms for homeless people, but the Hyatt had no say in any of this. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
And you know, the Hyatt was targeted, I do want to say, because they have demonstrated that they have a plethora of empty rooms, given that they are able to light up BLM for Black Lives Matter into their building, and they replaced it recently with a heart. That's why we chose the Hyatt.
So now, the people who contacted me, Anna, said that this was cruel to tell people without a home that they were going to have a beautiful room at the Grand Hyatt last night, and then that was never arranged, that never happened. What do you say to that criticism?
So I would say that part of our press release said that the 30 rooms had already been claimed by people chosen by the Seattle City navigation team to completely eliminate any possibility of that confusion. And I think that you should hear from one of the people who I'm with right now, who are housing insecure or unsheltered.
Okay. Hand the phone off to one of them.
This is going to be William.
Who's
okay?
William. Okay, William Parham.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, William. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
So you were told? Were you told, or were you part of the hoax that people were going to get rooms at the Grand Hyatt?
I was part of the hoax. I was a willing accomplice. I believe in self-determination, and so as someone who is housing insecure, not actually houseless, but housing insecure, and an advocate for homeless because I have been unhoused when I first moved to Seattle, I felt that this was something necessary, even though the hoax part could be construed as being dishonest. I think that the social injustice of having people sleeping on the streets in the middle of a smoke crisis without adequate resources is the bigger shame in this.
Okay, but why target the Grand Hyatt? They didn't have anything to do with.
Well, so the Grand Hyatt claims that it supports Black Lives Matters. They've posted twice on their social media page that Black Lives Matters, and they had BLM in their hotel that they're not even using for several months. Black Lives Matters. So right now, as a activist and as a person who's a stakeholder in this Black Lives Matters movement, I'm going after businesses that claim publicly that they support Black Lives Matters, but are given the chance to support Black lives by housing over 7 Black lives that were in that lobby yesterday to get them out of imminent danger and not doing it. We're forcing their hand.
They don't have any showing. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Grand Hyatt doesn't have any obligation to. They are a business. They don't have any obligation to give something for free to
they don't
people.
They don't have a legal obligation, but they do have a moral obligation, and that's the way that we need to start framing this conversation in this country. Is that companies that profit off of using BLM to pretty up their marketing campaign need to give back to those same organizations that they're using to capitalize off of a movement. I'm so tired of corporate America co-opting identity politics and then abandoning those same people that they say they're saying they represent when those people do not serve them anymore. Bud Light did the same thing to the gay community in Seattle when there was no Pride Parade, but they still profit off of the imagery of that identity politics.
But again, to say that just because we want something, you must give it to us, that doesn't make any sense.
We're not saying that you must give it to us because we want. That's not what I'm saying. What we're asking for, because we clearly never demanded, what we're asking for is housing justice. We're asking for compassion. That was what this hoax was to test the compassion of the Hyatt. And so yesterday we clearly saw that the compassion of the Hyatt failed.
Because they didn't give you guys rooms you were demanding.
We never demanded for rooms. We asked for rooms.
Right. Okay. There are people on the Seattle City Council who say that they stand with Black Lives Matter. Shama Sawant, she has two empty extra bedrooms in her house. Why don't you target her? Why don't you tell her that she has to give?
We called City Council. We called City Council, but also as City Council doesn't hold the same moral obligation and the same obligation that a corporation that profits from the same bodies has. They don't hold the same stewardship. That's not.
Well,
we're not. I'm not going to ask.
Shama
Sawant is not in the business of housing people. They don't also. Shama Sawant does not say that she supports the Geneva, the UN Convention for human rights for housing.
The Grand Hyatt is not in the business of housing people. The Grand Hyatt is in the business of making money. That's what corporations do.
The Grand Hyatt is in the business of
product.
But if they give away that product, they can write down that product. They can write down that product on their company line. They're just making a very political stance on who they're choosing to help and how they're choosing to help.
There's another problem
they're
with this,
making
William. Let's have a conversation here. In San Francisco, the government mandated that some hotels give rooms to homeless people. And it has been a gigantic failure because what they found was that the homeless population in San Francisco absolutely trashed the hotel rooms. There was a tremendous amount of drug use. There was no respect. There were things that were broken. And a lot of the horrible habits that in some cases have led to people being homeless, they carry through to the destruction of these hotels that were provided to them down in San Francisco. So there is a great business risk when they do this.
I can't speak to the city of San Francisco, but I can say that the concerns that you're bringing up are all concerns that can be mitigated if you work with the right community partners and the right community stakeholders. There are organizations in the city of Seattle that work to reduce harm reduction and also work with people who are mentally unstable. So if the city decides to partner with organizations that can make sure that this type of property damage and this type of drug use doesn't happen in their premises, then it's very easy to mitigate that problem. But you're not even prepared to have that conversation because you want to make this once again about identity politics. You want to make this a NIMBY issue. You want to say not in my backyard. We're having a conversation,
William,
but I'm answering your concerns right now. I'm telling you,
I'm the only person having this conversation. I'm exclusively talking with you about this.
I completely heard what you said, though. You told me that San Francisco had a similar problem.
We're desperately short on time. Where does this stop? If you don't have a house, you say the hotel should give you a room. Should restaurants be forced to give you meals? Should car dealerships be forced to give you automobiles if you don't have cars? Where does this stop?
We're not forcing anyone to give us anything. We are asking for companies to have compassion and take compassion on the people that use their products, that work for their companies. They're part of the community. We're asking for community care. We're asking for community stewardship. We're asking for the corporations to stand up and rise and meet the demand of the people who are being adversely affected by climate crisis and being adversely affected by the homeless crisis and being adversely affected by the COVID pandemic.
Well, the climate crisis has absolutely nothing to do with any of this, but that's another issue. So look, William, I know we're out of time. Well, that's another subject, and we're desperately out of time. I'm out of time, William. I'm out of time. I'm sorry. But I really appreciate you guys coming on with me and talking with me about this, okay? William? Okay. Well, we're out of time. I'm glad that Anna and William were able to talk, and you just heard exclusively what they were asking for. Up next in the Big Lead.